Right then, AJ, the details of this. Kieran McKenna, as we knew, has been confirmed now, has signed a new 4-year deal at Ipswich Town. Reports that it's $6 million a year he's getting weighed in with, which is lovely stuff, and well deserved, which is a big statement in itself. Let's start with your opening thoughts, our opening thoughts on this then, AJ. What's your first take on this?
Sheer delight more than anything. One of the things that has stuck out to me consistently since coming to cover Town is a line that Mark Ashton said, which is, "Our consistency is our superpower." And you've seen that in the last 2 years, because by keeping a very similar playing group and by keeping the same manager and the same backroom staff, by not doing too much in terms of constantly looking to upgrade and overhauling and like really maybe over pushing and striving to reach the top, they've been able to do it in their own way. And if they essentially lost the head of that, the person who's had the biggest influence in the summer, that will probably be the hardest of the game changer era, let's be honest, with the amount of work that's going to need to go on, in terms of the squad and what needs to be done to get that up to Premier League standards, but also with the impact that he's had in terms of things like the training ground. And I'm sure he's probably even had the odd conversation about what needs to happen at Portman Road, all those different things. Kieran McKenna has had an influence in every part of this football club. So if he was to leave, and throughout this, I've had my concerns in terms of, I think the jobs he's been linked with have been really appealing. I think it's fairly clear that the 3 clubs who have been interested have all probably been interested, have all had talks, and that's fair enough. I couldn't have really blamed him for taking any of them, because they're all really big jobs and they're really exciting ones, and they'd probably be really good for his career. So the fact that he's ended up staying is brilliant. Yes, I know there'll be the financial incentives there. There's the incentives of wanting to kind of maybe stay a little bit safer. He knows that there's a project to build here, and that the situation at Ipswich is much less volatile than one of the quote-unquote bigger clubs. But at the same time, I think it does show his loyalty. And there were some people who had started to question that before we'd even really heard from the man himself in terms of what was going through his mind. So to hear that, as we have done, to see it now with the proof in the pudding in terms of the fact he signed that contract, I think that the feeling is relief. And also, I guess from both of our perspectives, it's the fact that it's all done now. Realistically, you'd say that there aren't going to be any more managerial links for Kieran McKenna this summer. We can move on to the important things, looking ahead at the Premier League, looking ahead at who could come in terms of the players and stuff like that. And this kind of thing that's been hanging over all of us just gets put to one side for, you'd hope, at least 12 months, possibly even longer.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on it are, first of all, no one will ever really know what's happened behind the scenes, because clearly they're not going to fully 100% confirm that. Only a very, very small number of people will know what is actually been going on amidst all this noise. So yeah, we shall see. The loyalty thing's interesting, because we seem to hold people in football to a higher standard, don't we, than we'd hold ourselves to. If someone came to me, put myself in Kieran McKenna's shoes, say the Sunday Times came to me and said, "Heathy, we think you're amazing," I'd go, "Correct." They say, "We want to quadruple your wages to do basically what you're doing now," I'd say, "Yes, please. I'm out of here." And no one would think any less of me. Obviously, you've got to do what's best for yourself and your family. And so it's only, I think, justified. If indeed he was having these conversations, absolutely no problem with that at all. To be loyal, he has been loyal. But you also have to be loyal to yourself, first of all, and your family. So I don't think there's any problem there. And for me, I mean, obviously, I went on record and said I didn't think he would go anywhere. That was a stab in the dark based on what we know about his personality, and also how hard Town would fight to keep him. But everything that Town have built, as you've already touched on there, AJ, is around stability, consistency, and this kind of almost unique kind of band of brothers feel that they've engendered at the club. And were Kieran McKenna to go, who is kind of the lead, if you like, the sergeant major of that particular band of brothers, I think that would have really, really been a blow that Town would have very much struggled to come back from. And then you start to obviously see the effect on the playing squad and stuff. You only have to listen to the players talk about him to see how much they'll love him and how much they trust him, and how much they'll run through walls for him. So the fact that he's still here is massive, I think, for Ipswich Town going to the Premier League, and gives them the best chance possible, shall we say, to attack the league, as Mark Ashton is so fond of saying.